So I wanted to share something connected with Pesach and Shavuot and our marriage um, relationship. What happens is that God and the Jewish people are like a man and a woman trying to have a relationship with each other. That's why on Passover we actually read Shir Hashirim about that romantic, almost relationship between us and God. Right? Even romance, which appear to be a complete secular thing, is a concept created by God, and there's a holy part to it and an unholy part to it. So God, in Shir Hashirim, is very poetic, very romantic, and speaks about the love of our youth when God took us in the desert, and and we fell in love with each other, um, and we know that the story of Shavuot, the holy of Shavuot, is actually a wedding. It's considered a wedding. That's what we have chuppah um, on the bima. Usually, we have a canopy in the synagogue, and we have flowers and trees and whatever. It represents the marriage between us and God. And every year we celebrate our anniversaries, the anniversary of the marriage between us and God. And God gave us the Torah. The Torah being the Ketubah, or according to some opinion, is the ring. We got married to God. So when we went out of Egypt, we didn't deserve really to go out of Egypt, right? We reached the 49th level of Tuma, and technically we would have been, if we have stayed longer, says Chaza, we have been completely assimilated, and we wouldn't have been able to become the Jewish people. So God took us out. God took us out, and we went with Him in the desert. And 50 days later, we got married. So we got, what Pesach is like, was our engagement, and Shavuot we got married. Now, the question is, what is that whole period of engagement, and why is there those 50 days and this working on ourselves, on our character traits, to be able to be ready for that marriage with God? Almost like, looks like a two-step process. But I believe that two-step process has to do a lot with our own life in general. When we get married, right, God puts something very unique. We call it infatuation. We fall in love. We start having feelings. We're attracted physically, emotionally, intellectually. But can we call that really true love? Something that just comes by itself? No, I see that girl, I see that man, and that's it. I'm in love. That's almost an undeserved love. Meaning, it's a love that comes, but it's not rooted in true foundation, true love. It's a more superficial. It's a pleasure. It's attraction, but it's not actual real love. And what happens is that couples get, they go through that moment, and then they get married, and all of a sudden, after sometimes a few weeks, a few months, or a few years, we start saying, wow, I don't feel the love anymore. I'm not attracted anymore. I don't desire him or her anymore. Where is the love? It came, it's gone. Well, yeah, because that was not love. That was a superficial type of love. It was not rooted into a deep, deep, real love. Real love is something that is acquired. It takes years to, sometimes less, but usually years really, to tap into it. Something you need to acquire, and then you really become in love. And I believe that message is very relevant to that time, Pesach and Shavuot. Pesach, we went out of Egypt. We didn't really deserve to go out of Egypt. And God saying, I love you. Let's meet. I will take you out. I think I'm in love with you, and I think we can make it work. And once we came out, we have Pesach, the gift of Pesach, the gift of that unique falling in love with God. that night, Pesach night, we stay up all night, right? We learn about God, we fall in love, Shir Hashirim, Hallel, it's beautiful. We sing song of love to each other. And then we have 49 days where we have Sefiras HaOmer, where we work on our character traits, where we are now working on acquiring our love to God, acquiring the Torah, right? 48 ways to acquire the Torah, 49 days to refine our character traits, to really acquire our relationship with love, with God. And that will become real love. Then we can be married. That'll be a real marriage, a full marriage. You have the engagement and the marriage, to speak, with God. So you have so so we have to use that in our marriage. You understand that when we get married, we're excited all that, but very quickly we start seeing that that person has a lot of weaknesses, as a whole side of that person that I didn't know. It's maybe I made a mistake. I'm not attracted as I used to be, you know, and we fall out of love. And that's the trick. We fall in love, meaning it's happening to you. You don't even know. It's a gift that God gives, that you fall in love with that person. Otherwise, you'll never choose to marry that person. But you had that person that you had a connection and you fell in love, falling in love. Now, falling in love is nice, but it's a gift. But then you have to rise in love. Then you have to acquire the love. Then you have to do the work to really tap into that true, deep love of that person, which means loving all the parts of that person, all the good and all the bad, to accept the whole world of that person. And that takes a lot of work. That's Sefiras HaOmer. That's working very hard on every character traits, understanding why that person is good for you and why you're good for that person. And then little by little, you're able to see the light, you're able to connect to the true purpose of why you're together, how that person really helping you in life, how we can really help that person, and you truly fall in love with that person. That and then you're ready for Shavuot, where you celebrate. That's the anniversary, our anniversary, which will be that celebration of the love we have acquired every year. Did we have acquired a little bit more love this year? So that's, I believe, one of the work that we're doing this period of time, understanding how it applies so much to our marriage. Let's understanding also connected to that the 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuot correspond also, says the Zohar HaKodesh, that is correspond to the 7 days that the man and woman separate according to the Torah when she has her periods. Um, so it's a distancing for the sake of rebuilding the love that was there, but that was maybe not at its climax, that was maybe superficial. We're not touching anymore for 7 days. We're not sleeping with each other. Why? Because now we're focusing on acquiring a deeper level of love. There's work to be done. Those 7 days, like the 7 weeks, the 7 days where I'm supposed to work on my 7 character traits, the 7 spheros. And by being able to do that, I'm able to tap into a deeper, I'm able to rise in love. So that, and we counting exciting, I want to get there, I want to achieve true love, so I'm working hard to achieve that. And you count every day and you get excited that you're rising, that you're acquiring whatever you need to acquire to tap into the love with your spouse in this. And interesting, we have the 7 weeks correspond 7 times 7, right? 7 days, 7 weeks. This is a total of 49 days, because we say there are 50 levels of Tumah, but 50 layers of purity, which correspond to the 50 gates of understanding. Nun Share Bina. 50 gates of understanding, meaning that what's 50 gates of understanding correspond to the word me. Mem Yud. Me. Me is what? Who. Who means, like, who is that person? Me who ze. Who. So who is that? Who is that person that I'm marrying? The 50 gates of understanding is really to understand the level of of uh, of iman, the level of love, full love. When you understand the person fully, the 50 gates, the 50 facets, um, you're able to love the person fully. You're able to understand. True love is be able to understand fully the person. all the 7 attributes, the 7 ways that person use its character traits. Able to understand, you are able to appreciate. And here comes the whole thing with why we are mourning also. Um, in the morning, this distancing we say is connected to the nida, where there's a distancing. So it's a type of mourning also, mourning the old self, the old relationship to go in a new relationship. But on top of that, there is that aspect of um, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the mourning from Rabbi Akiva, 24,000 students during the 33 days where they lacked respect of each other. Meaning, why they mean that they lacked respect? They couldn't appreciate the value, the essence of who the person was, and Rabbi Akiva was saying, he's the teacher of all those students who died. Teach them how to love each other. Because what's love? Love is not something superficial. It's like, yeah, I love you, I love you. No, no, no. They were lacking true acquired love, true acquired appreciation of another Torah scholar, another way of thinking. I learned to love who you are. I learned to love the type of thoughts you have, the types of opinions you have. I respect that. I disagree completely with you, but I love you for your own unique way how to connect, how to be, how to think. You're one facet of the Torah. Shivim panim the Torah. Your wife is another facet of the Torah, right? It's like the wife is the Torah Shebal Peh, right? And otherwise she doesn't need to study it because she is Torah Shebal. She's full of opinions that seem sometimes a contradiction, but the man has to understand. Elu ve'elu, the opinion of my wife and my opinion are both true, even if you disagree completely. It's like almost a chavrusa. You don't want to treat her as a chavrusa, it's your wife. But the idea is that it's completely, she represents Torah Shebal Peh, the mix of sometimes that seems to be inconsistent. She says something, but she feels different. All of a sudden, she's like this. Another moment, she's like that. It's very emotional, very moody, more than men in general, and it's hard to understand. Like, what do you want? And learning how to appreciate one's wife. That's learning. That was the problem of the student Rabbi Akiva, who were supposed to learn to appreciate each other's uniqueness of Torah. So we have to do the same thing with the spouse. Appreciate the opinion of your spouse. Pay it attention. Give it its respect, even if you disagree. That's a big foundation in marriage. Unfortunately, we don't do it. Before you disagree with your wife, appreciate her opinion. Um, it goes men and women both ways, but more men to women. Show a validation of what she says. Appreciate her idea, even though you are the man who represents the intellect. Whenever she comes with a thought, you have to appreciate it, even though it comes more from an emotional point of view. But that emotional point of view gives you an entire other way to think. It's to push you to think different way and understand things a different way. So anyway, this is what I wanted to share. I think there's a lot of deep stuff in what we said, but the key is not to get confused, not to lose hope, not to despair or get frustrated and thinking I made a mistake. Why did I marry that woman? Where's the love? No, 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 no. All those things is the work in progress. It needs what needs to be worked on. That's what needs to be acquired. And God willing, if we do that properly, then you will rise in love and acquire the 50 levels, 50 gates of understanding your wife, right? The 50 gates of knowing how to acquire love, how to acquire um, the essence of who your spouse is, which is the same thing with Hashem. 50 days between Pesach and Shavuot, where we learn how to acquire the relationship with Hashem through working on our character traits. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of character traits to work on. That's the key. Doing mitzvot is not enough. It's the working of character trait that shapes your mitzvot and enables you to transform yourselves, transform the other, and grow in love day after day. Love with your spouse and love with Hashem. So may we all be, aware of that as we count every day, and use that for when you count also for nida, and um, learn to appreciate the different people around you, the different opinions, especially the ones from your wife, um, and from other Torah scholar. And even if you disagree, you should still love them, like Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, who love each other even though they completely disagreed on certain aspect of the Torah. So may we all be able to achieve true love.